Bro, something just dropped in the Nolan Wells case, and it is not what anybody expected. For weeks, everybody's been asking the same question. Who is Katie? The girl on the island, the last person who talked to him before he vanished. And today, for the first time, someone close to this case broke their silence on exactly what happened between them. But here's the thing, what they said doesn't confirm the story everybody's been telling. It blows it up completely. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're gonna understand why Nolan's own father just came out and said no one is ever gonna get him to believe what people think happened that day. So quick recap if you're just now finding this story. Nolan Wells, 18 years old, heads out to Horn Island on the 4th of July with a group of friends. At some point that afternoon, he tells people he's staying behind. Some say he wanted to keep talking to a girl. Others say that's not what happened at all. 2 days later, his body is found in the water. No cause of death confirmed, no charges, just a family desperate for answers and a mystery girl named Katie who nobody could actually confirm anything about. For weeks, she's basically been a ghost in this story, a name people whispered online with zero verification. And that's exactly what made this next part so wild.
What if Nolan's friends really did just leave him there on the island? And what if Katie really did just leave Nolan there on the island? What if the last time everybody's seen him is true and he was fine? What if Nolan was stranded there on that island? And what if Nolan asked the wrong person for a ride back to shore? The island was packed. Nobody saw him jump in the water. Nobody saw anybody out there drowning. Nobody saw him in some type of altercation with his friends. They all saw the other altercation. So what if he casually asked somebody, can you give me a lift back to shore? Maybe somebody that was already getting ready to leave or something. Somebody asked him, you good? You look lost. I don't know. But what if that was the wrong person? And what if they did something to him and then they threw their body over and they know everything and they're not saying anything? All I know is Nolan wasn't on the boat with his friends, according to this post by his mom that says they have a picture of him walking on the island at 4:30. The boat left the island at 4:31. But what also don't make sense to me is this post here from one of the McCormicks. Katie had a conversation and assumed that Nolan was getting ready to go back on the boat he came out in. The friends said that the conversation was pretty much like, we told him that we were leaving and he was like, no, it's cool, I'm gonna chill and I'll catch a different ride. Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him. I mean, to me, that's giving two different type of conversations being held about them leaving. One that was a mutual understanding that he was gonna stay, and another from Katie that they were just telling him to get on the boat and there was no understanding of what he was gonna do. Somebody knows something and they ain't saying nothing.
So here's what actually happened. Nolan's parents, Christine and Elmore, finally addressed the Katie situation directly, and I need you to hear this because it changes the entire framing of this case. Elmore, Nolan's dad, said, quote, he had too much at stake. He had a plan for his life. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he had to do come that following Monday, which was to get down to business so he could get his future started. Then he says the part that's been all over timelines today. So for someone to tell me that Nolan decided to stay on the island to chase a girl, no one is going to get me to believe that. Bro, read that again. That's not a father speculating. That's a father flat out rejecting the version of events that's been circulating for weeks. And that's huge because up until now, the public narrative was basically locked in. Nolan stayed behind for Katie. That was the story. His dad just stood up and said absolutely not.
Breaking news in the Nolan Wells case. They are saying that the girl that supposedly, allegedly, Nolan Wells liked it. Her father is now allegedly a suspect in the case. Allegedly, her father had Nolan on his boat. So what do y'all think that's going on? Because this is something that is throwing us off. Is it the boys or is it Katie's father? Y'all comment down below and let me know what y'all think.
Now, obviously, the comments are already going crazy over this. A lot of people are saying, of course a grieving father doesn't want to believe his son made a choice that led to this. That's fair, no cap, grief does that. But then you've got another side saying, wait, if his own father is this confident, does he know something we don't? Is there something in that phone investigators haven't released yet? Because remember, there's still a joint forensic review of Nolan's cell phone that hasn't gone public. So when a parent this directly contradicts the narrative, people aren't just reacting emotionally. They're wondering if there's evidence behind it we haven't seen yet. But here's where it gets crazy, because Katie isn't even the only inconsistency the family is pointing to right now. Christine, Nolan's mom, brought up something that honestly nobody was talking about until today. Police reports listed Nolan as wearing black shorts the day he disappeared. But Christine says a young woman who was actually on Horn Island reached out to her with photos from that exact day. And in those photos, Nolan is wearing blue shorts. Not black, blue. That's not a small detail, bro. That's the kind of discrepancy that either means somebody misremembered something small, or it means the paperwork on this case has holes in it that nobody's explained yet. And then on top of that, the family says there were weird complications just trying to get Nolan's car back. It was parked at a friend's place, and when they went to grab it, they say the keys mysteriously couldn't be found at first. Then, after some back and forth, the keys turned up. No explanation given. Wait for it, because none of these things prove anything criminal happened. Nobody's saying that. But when you stack the Katie contradiction, the shorts, and the car keys all together, you start to understand exactly why this family isn't satisfied with the story as it stands. Now here's the part people are sleeping on. None of this, the Katie contradiction, the shorts, the car keys, actually gets fully resolved until two things happen. First, that joint forensic review of Nolan's phone has to go public. Whatever is or isn't on that device could confirm one version of that final hour and kill the other completely. Second, the grand jury has to actually see all of this laid out together, not as separate rumors, but as one connected timeline. Because right now, everybody's picking a side based on vibes. His dad believes one thing, some corners of the internet believe another. But at the end of the day, bro, none of us were on that island. Only the evidence gets to settle this one.
Wait, you telling me there's a member in Katie's family who is allegedly on the run right now, and that person could be the person that did something to Nolan Wells? This person was seen on a boat with Nolan and has deactivated Facebook and all their social media all of a sudden. Watch this whole video because this is crazy. You telling me Katie family? So everybody knows that the story goes that Nolan left his friends to go say he was going to stay with Katie, but then Katie said he went back with his friends. Now stay with me because it get crazy. Now y'all remember this picture and everybody was saying, was this Nolan? But check this out. Here's a better picture. This person right here is allegedly Katie's dad. Same person as you can see here, and this is Katie's profile picture. Now follow me. Now remember, this is Lil Daddy boat. Now there was an altercation that happened, they're saying at 5 p.m. on Lil Daddy's boat. And what they're saying, here it is, one of my passengers, pretty certain he was part of the group, he being Nolan, that was fighting around 5 p.m. This is the first possible lead that we have that says Nolan around 5 p.m. was still there. Now, could Katie's father have been mad that he was with a black girl or that his daughter was with a black man and did something? I don't know, but it's sounding crazy and I don't like it. What if I told you?
So where does that leave us? Katie still hasn't spoken publicly herself. Investigators still haven't confirmed which version of that final hour is true, and the cause of death is still pending. But what changed today is that Nolan's own parents stopped staying quiet and started pushing back directly on the narrative that's been shaping this entire case. And that shifts everything, because now it's not just online speculation anymore. It's the people who knew him best saying the story doesn't add up. This case is heading toward a grand jury, and if these discrepancies end up mattering, today might be the moment we look back on as the turning point. Let me know what you think really happened that day in the comments. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.